I just read through your letter, but could you just kind of summarize for me again what you kind of thought of the governor's proposal?
Well, I certainly appreciate the governor trying to come up with a solution that solves the issue of two prisons that really shouldn't be functioning anymore. Greenbay Correctional and Waupun Correctional, the two oldest prisons in the state, definitely need to be replaced or renovated. And so I appreciate him taking the recommendations that I gave last summer on those two prisons. However, I don't think the plan that we have in place is feasible, and actually it puts public safety at risk.
Did he consult with you at all?
He did not. In fact, the governor typically does not have personal contact with many of the sheriffs in the state, unfortunately. I have been working with the secretary, Jared Hoy, on other things, but this was something that nobody really talked to me about until the plan was put in place.
In your response, you covered a lot about how it doesn't match up. You're taking away GBCI, but then you don't fill those beds adequately. How big of an issue do you see that being?
Well, they're already over capacity throughout the entire Department of Corrections system. And when you take a look at the numbers, it really, they need to reduce their population by about 9,000 to be where they really should be, at 85% of capacity in any correctional setting. And they're nowhere near that. And closing GBCI and moving things around with the hope of being able to reduce population by about 30% just isn't feasible. And so you're going to put max capacity in every single facility for a very long time, because by the time they realize what they've done, it's going to take many years beyond that to fix it. And our population in jails and prisons continues to go up. It's going to put an additional strain on those correctional officers that are working in the facilities, and makes it unsafe for those individuals. The alternative, like he's trying to talk about, is releasing these people back into the community. And frankly, that might be okay with some people, but you're never going to be able to reduce that kind of population in the amount of time they're looking to do that. Nowhere in the country has that ever been seen. I would love to be able to see a reduced population because people are held accountable and they decide to follow the law. But let's be real. I don't think that's a possibility here in Wisconsin or across our country. We need to hold people accountable, and we need space to do that. Closing GBCI, taking 750 beds away, and adding to the problem of shortage of bed space in prisons isn't the right solution.
That earned release program that he wants to expand, how do you think that's going currently? Would that, if they can beef up staffing and get more people through that, would it even be helpful?
I don't think it will. I think that's a great idea to try and help these people. Don't get me wrong. I want to help these people. I want them to integrate back into society. But it has not been a successful program. Yeah, we've seen people graduate, go back into the community, be successful, but I can't tell you how many times I've run into individuals that have come out of prison, say, hey, I'm all better. I feel great. I'm not using drugs. And then 6 to 9 months down the road, they're back doing the exact same thing. We have a 38% recidivism rate in Wisconsin, which is about national average, maybe slightly above national average. That means for every 100 people you work through this program, 38 of them are going to go back into the prison system again, on average. And so I think they have high expectations. And while I'd love to see them successful, again, we want to be realistic. And I just don't see that as being a realistic goal. And we're going to put our correction staff and the population in a real dire situation with not having enough bed space to house the individuals that need to be held accountable. And let's face it, crime is not getting better, it's getting worse in our country.
So what is the solution here? Maybe building a new prison, or do we just need to add on even more to some of these existing ones beyond what he's proposing?
I think we need to look at all those options. But certainly, I have 4 prisons here in Dodge County that I'm responsible for investigating crime in, and I know and I see the crime that occurs once they're in prison. You have to have good facilities, so what we need to do is look at all those options. Maybe it is adding another prison. Maybe it's adding another prison and adding to other facilities. I think he made a good effort at looking at facilities and identifying what potentially we could do. But his stance of I am never going to build another prison, I don't think is reasonable to keep it safe for inmates and for correctional officers. I think we need to look at some other locations to add additional beds so that our prisons are not overcrowded and that they are staffed appropriately with the appropriate number of inmates in them.
You listed a lot of recommendations back last summer, and those you don't see in his proposal. How frustrating is that?
When I spoke with Secretary Hoy last summer about all of this, I can't fault him for not getting everything done immediately. I told him it's like driving a bicycle up a mountain, trying to overcome all of the issues that they have in the Department of Corrections. And I think the Secretary is doing a very good job doing what he can with the resources he has available. However, they have a long ways to go. I reiterated those goals and those recommendations in my release in hopes that they don't forget about some of those, especially about inspecting the current facilities they have and holding the staff that they have accountable to the standards, the policies that they have in place, and making sure that the prison is being run as it's supposed to be run. So I can't hold it against them for not being perfect because nobody is, and they have a long ways to go. But I am hopeful that they will take more of those recommendations seriously and make some more changes to Department of Corrections.
It sounds like you are pleased with his proposal for Waupun Correctional, though.
I think it is a piece of the puzzle that I think would be fantastic for Waupun, would be fantastic for Dodge County. I think there needs to be more work on the back end to make sure that as a system as a whole, it works well. I'm very nervous about just putting people back in the community before they're ready. And I think that we do have some serious public safety concerns in not taking care of the population concerns that we have now. You can't just open the doors and let people out into the community and hope that things are going to be fine. And that's what the proposal really does is we're trying to reduce the population in the prison and we're just going to let these people out. You can't do that. It has to be done with the proper steps put in place. And I just don't see it realistic that you're going to be able to reduce even 4 or 5,000 people in population, let alone the 9,000 they need.
And I assume you've been talking with others in the law enforcement community, and they're have similar views.
I have spoken to other executives in the law enforcement community, and what I would rather see them do is do it right the first time. Don't put a band-aid on the situation and then 3, 4 years down the road come back and say, "Boy, I wish we would have done it right 3, 4 years ago." Do it right the first time. Make sure that we have adequate facilities to house all of these inmates, and to make sure correctional officers can adequately do their jobs. I think the Department of Corrections will be better off for it in the long run.
Sheriff, I think that's all I have for you. Anything I'm missing? Anything else you'd want to add?
I think that's good.
All right. Thank you for the time. I really appreciate it.
You bet. Have a great day.
Thanks. You too. Bye bye.